Hello everyone, my name is Evie Lupine. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. Today we are going to be discussing a very interesting subject that was inspired by a comment I received on one of my YouTube videos, and that is BDSM. Is it real or is it role play? Now, the exact comment I got, I'm going to read out loud for you guys now so you can have full context for this conversation. And they said, how can a lifestyler debate if what they do is role play? I mean, it's real life. Daily real life. If it's not real, why the hell would you still live it? It's fake. Personally, if I'm in a lifestyle, BDSM or vanilla, I just want something real. Just saying why fall for a life of role play, which I view as not real, when you can find someone who will give you something real eventually. Don't be desperate, hold out, wait for an authentic person. And I think this is such an interesting idea because on various BDSM social media platforms, be that Tumblr, Instagram, wherever, there is this post that I see pretty often, which is usually like a dominant male presenting body with like no shirt on from like the chest down, holding a belt or a cane or something, sometimes in a suit, and it'll say something like, you know, baby, this is your real life now, not role play, you know, there's no safe words, no limits, you're my slave, like that kind of thing, where it presents this very like extreme view of like, you know, you're on the dangerous side now, baby, this is when the real BDSM begins. And like, I think that in of itself is like a form of role play. It's a form of wish fulfillment where you're desiring to have this level of power, this like truer form of BDSM that I don't think you can really have. And what I want to discuss today is, you know, where I think the sentiment comes from. Do I agree with it? Do I disagree with it? You know, where is the conflict coming from, if there is any? And just kind of talk about the subject overall. Is BDSM something that can be real? Is it just role play? Is there some room in the middle? So yeah, let's go ahead and start discussing that. The first point that I want to make here is about where I think this sentiment is coming from and what I think it kind of means. And I think for people who make these sorts of statements about it's real, it's not role play, role play is seen as this sort of lesser bedroom form of engaging in BDSM. The association with role play is through things like people wearing costumes, a nurse uniform, a schoolgirl outfit, and pretending or playing along with being a dominant and submissive in the bedroom, though it is not something that they identify with as part of their everyday life or part of their everyday relationship. It's a very simplistic idea of what role play is and what role play can mean in a relationship. Again, it's sort of more of a bedroom, sexual focused almost sort of way of looking at the term role play. And so by that definition, by that interpretation of role play, it would make sense that if somebody said to you BDSM is just role play, you would probably get offended by that. And you'd be like, no, it feels way more real than role play. It's not just I put on a collar and I play pretty for master. Like, this is how I identify with every day. And for me, how I think about BDSM is I don't really see a conflict there. Like, I don't you know, talk about doing BDSM or BDSM being role play as though it were something that had to be separate from the self. And I think that is also something that's sort of connected to this, like by it being role play, it can thereby not be something that you can personally identify with. You are taking on something that is not you, does not belong to you. Whereas I think of role play as a way of acting out something that you feel very closely with or something you feel connected to, that by the restraints of reality and legality, you cannot actually truly fulfill. Because what I hear when I see things or when I hear things like, you know, BDSM's not role play, it's real life, sort of ignores a lot of constraints of the society that we currently live in. You can identify as a slave, you can be a 24/7 total power exchange slave, you know, swear all your autonomy through eternity and time immemorial to your master, give up your personal pronouns, do all of these things, shave your head, tattoo his name on your forehead, and that does not make you necessarily any closer to being a real literal slave. Because what I think about when I hear, it's real, it means you literally have to be that thing. And presently, in the society that we live in most places, slavery is illegal. You cannot actually literally own a human being. You can get registered with the slave registry, you can get a barcode tattooed on your butt, it doesn't matter. You are not actually legally owned by another person. You can have a very, very deep psychological connection that feels like ownership. No matter how deeply you identify with it, you are not literally bought for actual money because you can't actually do that. It's not something that is allowed to be done, and I think from my perspective, in a consensual BDSM relationship, that you can literally give up your complete autonomy. Because at the end of the day, to have a healthy BDSM relationship, even if it's a no limits, no aftercare, total power exchange type of situation, there must always be something that will allow the slave or submissive to leave that relationship. If it gets to a point where the slave is completely unable to leave because they are never allowed to do so, then that is abuse to me. That is when that crosses the line from healthy power exchange to unhealthy power exchange. Now that's kind of an extreme example where I'm talking about specifically slaves and TPE. It definitely is a bit more of a difficult conversation when it comes to lower level of power exchange, because you don't have that concrete example of well, you can't legally be bought by another person, so. But at the end of the day, again, you can't really give up your total, complete autonomy as a human being to another person. In present reality, as it is right now, the most you can do, even if it is something that you live and breathe every day, even if it is the deepest, most complete part of your soul, the most you can really do is play a role that will get you as close to that as physically possible. But you can't cross over into completely giving up control to another person, because again, then it goes into dangerous abuse territory, even if it's not necessarily a TPE sort of dynamic. And on the other side of that, I think what this comment also totally ignores is that a lot of DS relationships are based on things like CGL and pet play, and those have to be role play. I'm sure there are people out there who literally believe that they are a dog or a cat or something like that. That, the internet is a crazy world. But in terms of BDSM, I am a 24-year-old human female. When I engage in pet play with my dominant, I do not literally become a pet. And so therefore, my relationship, when it takes on the form of being expressed through pet play, has to be role play. You do not literally become an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old when you age regress. You do not literally become a 12-year-old when you are in your middle space or whatever it happens to be. You don't literally become these things, and so therefore whatever you do is role play. And role play is no less real than it being real BDSM. It's the closest approximation we can get to it being real before it would cross over into abusive, illegal, or otherwise very dangerous territory. And that is really where I fall on this argument, is that it's not fake. It's not, lesser. It's not bad. And I kind of resent the sentiment that, you need to hold out for a real dom, honey, because you're just playing pretend right now. Is no, for me, in knowing that what I'm doing is role play, knowing that how I engage with my partner is through role play, does not make it less real. It offers safety and security because I know that I am in control of my own body ultimately at the end of the day, because I am not literally a dog. I am not literally, 8 years old or whatever if I was engaged in CGL, any of those things. It is about having understanding of the boundaries of reality and where that comes into play with BDSM. You can identify with the term submissive or slave. You can identify with the term master or dominant. You can use them for yourself. It can be a very important part of how you have relationships and how you engage with the world in general. But that doesn't mean that what you're doing is not necessarily roleplay, or that it would be wrong to call it roleplay. Now, I think that with many things in BDSM, it is very much open to personal interpretation, and that is very much the case here. If you want to differentiate between like bedroom role play and lifestyle BDSM as the boundaries between it being real and being just role play, and that is like what works for you, by all means continue to, go with that. That is what makes sense to your brain. However, for myself and how I conceive of the term role play in relationship to BDSM lifestyles, I think it makes perfect sense to call all BDSM relationships that are based on power exchange a form of role play, because I do not see role play as inherently lesser or necessarily meaning that I am not acting out my true self. Because really, I think in life, we don't always have the means to be exactly who we want to be, but we have the ability to play out a role that allows us to get closer to that thing. And that is really what I think BDSM offers. I think BDSM offers a way to play a role that helps you feel more in congruence with your truest form of expression of intimacy and the way that you desire to have relationships. And it can be 24/7, it can be TPE, it can be not, it can be bedroom only, and all of it can be role play, and I think it can be real and it can be role play. I don't think that there is an either or choice here, and that is kind of ultimately what I want to get across in this video. Is it's not like it's role play or it's real. It's role play and it's real. It's role play because you cannot literally physically be the things that we desire to be in BDSM. You are simply acting out the closest approximation that we can get to these things while staying in the realms of, safe, sane, and consensual, or risk-informed consensual kink, as it so happens to be. Because again, there is no legal chattel slavery. You cannot legally give up all your autonomy as a human being to another person, and if you were to do that, that would cross the lines into abuse. Anyways, I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit here. This is one of those things that I think is a little bit hard to get across without some back and forth dialogue. Hopefully what I said in this video made sense. If people need more explanation, or if they have like follow-up comments or questions, I would love to hear that. If we need to do a follow-up video, I'm totally happy to do that. I think there is potential for a lot more ongoing conversation here. So if you think that is the case, please let me know and comment down below. If you like this video and you'd like to see more from me, you can subscribe to my channel. I make videos twice a week. And if you really enjoy my content and you'd like to support my work, the best place you can do that is over on Patreon. That has a bunch of exclusive perks and rewards and videos and chats and all of that great stuff. So if you'd like to see that, go down below. It'll be in the description box. If you already support me, thank you so much. And until I see you guys next time, hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.